but 75% think that we should be in there. But I'll bet if you ask all the American people, whether they're on either side of that argument, ask them if we have the right to get out. I would think most of them would say, yes, we do, because right now we don't even attend, right now we're not attending some conference because we don't think we have the votes and we don't want to be voted down, and it's becoming more dominant by our enemies and our friends. So most Americans would say, yes, we have the right to secede from the UN if we have to. And that might be something that we have to be concerned, because if we lose our fight, if we lose our arguments and we don't win this battle, the UN is going to be more powerful. That's the proposal. They're talking about the dollar standard is done. They're talking about another standard, another fiat standard, but it'll be SDRs on the IMF and the UN. But here we have the UN, of course we have the World Bank and the IMF and the WTO, and they're crying now for more regulations, Republicans and Democrats. They want, when they talk about regulations and expanding them and to conform, they're going to be doing that and putting us more in hock to the federal government. But you know, the UN also has already attacked us on some of our rights. When it comes to nutritional substances and vitamins, they want to make those all international. And the FDA wants to take over control. Guess why? The drug companies like that. You know, in this country, you would wonder why we put up with so much. I mean, I have a bill in the Congress, which if you'd have asked me this 10 years ago, are you ever going to introduce a bill to legalize such and such? I said, why would I have to do that? And that is just to get the feds out of regulating your right to drink raw milk. I would say that ought to be your own choice. Why can't we allow people in the states to do this instead of having people coming in and regulating and believing that you're incapable of taking care of yourself? I happen to have more faith and confidence in freedom. Freedom, I believe, you know, it works. And the reason why I've gotten so excited in the last couple years has been that with so many of the crowds that we have and the places that we have gone, we bring so many people together. Sure, I bet there's a lot of conservatives here. I bet there's a bunch of Republicans, and maybe a couple Democrats, and maybe some independents, and maybe some liberals, and maybe some progressives. But the Constitution brings us together. You know, when you legalize freedom of choice, you become less judgmental. You let people make up their own minds on how they want to run their lives and what their lifestyles are. Even if you object to it, you know, you have to put up with it if they're not offending you or not abusing your rights. And that just brings us together in a healthy way. And rather than saying, well, what we need to do is tell you exactly how to operate. Now, nobody would argue that the federal government or any government should tell you what you can read. And yet, you know, they're doing that all the time because of the nasty stuff. You know, the First Amendment was written to make sure that you read, that you're allowed to read controversial things, not the non-controversial things. So basically, though, most people say no, we should have freedom of speech. And then we certainly believe that you have a right to go to a church or a temple or a tabernacle or mosque or whatever and practice your own religion or no religion at all. We generally recognize that. But why is it that all of a sudden we accept the notion that the government, the FDA, is the only one that can tell us what to put in our mouths and in our lungs? That all of a sudden, you know, I would think thinking about our eternal soul and our intellectual capacity is pretty important, and yet we're allowed to deal with that. But oh no, we have to decide what we can do with our own bodies. I would think that in a society like that, which we generally had, you know, in our early history, it wasn't nearly as regulated. I think some people are going to do some pretty dumb things. People already do dumb things. Some people read this intellectual stuff and become socialists and fascists and all these other things, but we don't stop them from reading it. So a lot of people are going to use freedom the wrong way. But I think the large majority are going to use it in the right way, and that is what is very important. So we need a little more confidence in ourselves, confidence in freedom. And the rules are there. You can't hurt people. You can't steal from people and damage their property. But government should be there to protect, property. They're there to protect contracts, and they're there to have sound money. So what do we have? We have a government doing exactly the opposite. They've become the counterfeiter. They take our property without due process of law, and they tax us to the hilt, and then they destroy the value of money. So our government is doing the opposite of what it's supposed to be doing. The government is supposed to be there for a very specific purpose, and that is to protect our liberties. If we can get that message across, believe me, this country can succeed. We will have the tough times, and you have to be prepared. The most important thing we do, though, right now, because it's an intellectual fight, is to know the issues, understand them, understand why Mises was a much greater economist than Keynes. And if we know how to defend those positions, I am convinced we can win this, because it is an intellectual fight. And we are on the side of right. There is no doubt in my mind that we would be much happier living in a free society. I'm also convinced that I enjoy my freedom so much that even if I became poorer, even if freedom led to less prosperity, I would still want my freedom. But we don't even need to deal with that. If we support freedom and can defend it in the American tradition, defend it with the Constitution, there is no reason why we can't be both free and prosperous. Thank you very much.